Christmas present from a very dear friend of mine.
Look, Daddy, teacher says every time a bell rings, an angel gets his wings.
That's right. That's right. Attaboy, Clarence.
Funeral Eulogy, written by Pam, Alan's sister. My brother Alan came along when I was just 11 years of age and was born on July 2, 1954. Alan, as always, did things a little differently, and it all started with a policeman knocking at our door in the early hours of the morning, telling my dad that my mum, who was in hospital and had become very ill and was about to have a cesarean, as they believed the baby had died. Alan, of course, was absolutely fine and came out fighting. But life for me changed in an instant the day he arrived, as I was immediately on duty to help my mum with every feed, bathing, nappy change, and loved every moment of now having my own real-life baby doll. We were inseparable, and my baby brother, as always, smiling and happy, was great fun to be around. At 10 months old, Alan was diagnosed with a calcium problem, and had to spend a number of days in hospital at Great Ormond Street. I guess seeing so many doctors and nurses stuck with Alan, as when he started primary school, if ever there was a clinic day, Alan was nowhere to be found and was usually fast out of the school gate and on his way home. Many a time, my mum got the call from school to look out for Alan, as he was sure to be at the front door soon. As Alan got a little older, he became a big fan of trains and would love to be taken to watch the trains go past at Westbourne Park Station. His first train set came boxed one Christmas morning. Alan and I sat for hours setting it up on the kitchen floor, and I often wondered if this passion led to the amazing layout that now takes up an entire room at the Pembroke. Growing up with Alan was never a dull moment, and we had a great childhood together, with lots of family parties. As small children, Father Christmas would be there at Braybrook Street to hand out all the presents. Our parties were not just reserved for Christmas, and it seemed any excuse to get together and have a knees up was found. Many parties were held at home, in Fermoy Road. Our family holidays were just as much fun, spending time in caravans on the Isle of Wight and chalet holidays in Clecton. Alan thoroughly enjoyed days on the beach, building the best of sand castles or being captain of a mini boat on the boating lake. As a teenager, Alan was a huge fan of planes, and in the summer holidays, we spent many an hour watching takeoffs and landings at Heathrow Airport. Many years later found Alan in the cockpit and taking flying lessons himself. Alan's first job was at a printing company at Kensal Rise, and after a while, he moved on to a sales position at Green's Cameras and Electricals, which suited Alan just fine, as by now, he was becoming very interested in photography. Alan then had an opportunity to combine his love for planes and took a role at the airport, where his career literally took off. Alan was promoted and promoted again, to eventually become the general manager of flight side duty-free at Heathrow Airport. This job had its perks for me too, as I now was the proud owner of the best perfume collection for miles around. Alan was always great fun to be around and always seemed to be surrounded by people that loved him. Alan became the very best uncle to my 2 children. He started out babysitting and they always had the best of fun. We could usually hear the giggling as we got home, and knew of course that the kids must go to bed early instructions had of course been forgotten. Alan and I remained as close as ever, and after he had moved to Blackpool, he would drive back to see us and catch up, have a meal and as usual, a good laugh. He always excelled in everything that he did and would find a way to overcome any obstacle put in his way, or any adversity thrown at him. I only wished his battle with cancer was one that he could have beaten. I guess it's the laughing I miss the most, that, and no longer being able to hear his voice at the end of the phone. Alan was the very best brother that anyone could have wished for, and I count myself very lucky to be able to have called him mine. Funeral Eulogy, written by Michael. On the 28th of January 1987, my life was going to change forever and I had no idea what the future was going to bring. It was a cold winter's evening and myself and my friend Graham went to the Champions Bar in Notting Hill Gate, which is located in West London. I spotted a familiar face in the crowd, who I would later find out was called Billy. He was an extra in a lot of TV series in the 1980s and next to him stood Alan. They were chatting and laughing and obviously knew each other well. After a while, the friend I'd arrived with went home, so I went to sit in the rear snug bar on my own. A log fire was roaring, so I went to sit in front of it to warm myself up. Alan then appeared and joined me at the table and we started chatting. From that moment on, we would end up spending the next 32 years of our lives together. We initially lived together in my bedsit in Ladbroke Grove, in North Kensington, before Alan bought the house we eventually moved to in Ruislip Manor. Alan had just left the Dixons Group when we first met, where he was one of their top area managers. After a brief stint of being a parcel courier driver, he was headhunted by Alders International at Heathrow Airport, Terminal 2. He was brought in to sort out a lot of difficult staffing issues and was again working underneath two of the directors from his time with Greens Electrical. He soon became the general manager of Terminal 2 and while there, managed to smash the then UK retail sales record per square foot by breaking through the £1 million barrier of sales in a week. As the duty-free shop was airside, it wasn't technically on UK soil, so this amazing achievement would end up not being recorded by the Guinness Book of Records. After a few years, he was transferred to London Luton Airport as the general manager and he thoroughly enjoyed his time there. One of the promotion girls at Heathrow Airport became a very good friend of ours. She was one of the original 1960s Tiller girls and we would always go to see them perform their routines in various venues. Rosalie knew everyone in the showbiz world and was a very close friend of Paul O'Grady, amongst others. This resulted in us meeting and partying with Paul and his partner, Brendan, over many occasions. Quite often, you would find Alan laughing away in the corner at parties, telling his jokes to various people like Julian Clary, Barbara Windsor, Jimmy Somerville, Bonnie Langford and even Danny LaRue, amongst others. Alan loved socializing with friends and family and people naturally welcomed his company. He was a great joke teller and could remember really complex jokes. A firm favorite over the years was the joke about the nun who wanted to speak to her Auntie Mabel in Australia, with the help of a BT engineer. It's too blue for me to carry on though. Family was very important to Alan and you would always find him at any family gathering. Every Christmas and New Year, we always looked forward to joining the rest of his extended family at his auntie and uncle's house in Acton, Flo and John. Alan was especially close to his mum and dad, Molly and son. When he used to be an area manager in his early years, he would often take them with him if he had to visit stores in, let's say, somewhere like Plymouth or Eastbourne. While Alan would be visiting and checking up on the stores, they would take themselves off and have a nice day out until they met up again later. When we moved up to Blackpool in 2001, Molly and son moved up with us into our first property, on Park Road. Being an active part of the community came naturally to Alan. In London, we started up a neighbourhood watch scheme, which resulted in forming some great friendships with our neighbours. Every Sunday evening, his mum and dad, along with his auntie and uncle, Grace and Fred, would come around to our house for a get-together. It would not be uncommon for neighbours to come around and join us in singing on the karaoke machine or having a barbecue in the back garden. While in Blackpool, Alan was actively involved in the King Edward Avenue Hoteliers Association and also helped to lead a community arts project and the fight with the increasing numbers of HMO properties on the avenue. The Friends of Jubilee Gardens was first started by Alan, Georgina and myself in 2016. At the time of our initial involvement, cutbacks meant that the council's parks department withdrew all maintenance of the gardens, apart from mowing the lawn. Weeds were growing chest high and the gardens were full of antisocial behavior. Over the last 3 years, Alan has been pivotal in helping to develop the gardens into what we have today, a real asset for our local community. Prior to me knowing Alan, he had completed the majority of the hours needed to gain a pilot's license, which he was particularly proud of. Saying that, a certain skill Alan had, was being able to have premonitions during his sleep, about forthcoming air crashes. Prior to moving up to Blackpool, we were very fortunate to have been able to fly to many long-haul holiday destinations all over the world. It was, however, a worry in the run-up to the holiday, in case he had any of his premonitions. His most memorable dream was when he saw the Hudson River disaster and remembered the pilot saying, "We are not going to make it." This ended up being the front-page newspaper headline that the papers used to report the story around the world. We both fell in love with Sri Lanka and India, and only last month we watched the old holiday videotapes again. It brought back so many magical memories for us both. A great passion of Alan's was the many cars he had owned over the years. A lot of time and research went into each purchase, and he used to thoroughly enjoy kitting out each new one with the latest accessories and gadgets. He also enjoyed collecting many things over the years, including model train sets and Routemaster buses, watches, cameras, hi-fi equipment, and his beloved Dalek model collection. We currently have a complete model train layout in one of our unused guest rooms. One thing that Alan was really proud of was the success we had achieved together in running the Pembroke Hotel over the past 17 years. We had worked really hard to finally create a product we were both proud of, and created a lifestyle that we wanted. Visit England very kindly bent over backwards to fast-track our last hotel inspection, during the last few weeks of Alan's life. This resulted in us achieving a 5-star rating, which Alan was able to appreciate before his passing. Nights out to Roxy's and Funny Girls were always at the top of his list of things to do in the week. He would have gone every night of the week if it was up to him, and loved the anticipation of the new shows being created. The Hot Ice Show at the Pleasure Beach was also a firm favorite of his. One thing that definitely touched Alan's heart during his illness was the overwhelming amount of love and support that was given to him by friends and family. He was particularly touched by the handmade cards that many of our friends' children made especially for him. Alan was the most amazing man and was truly one in a million. He will be missed by many, and we all have our own individual memories of Alan and the times spent together. He was the most loyal, funny, generous, intelligent and caring man, and would help anybody in times of need, and was the greatest friend you could ever wish for. Thank you, Alan, for sharing the last 32 years with me, and for turning that cold winter's evening in the Champions Bar, many, many years ago, into the most amazing journey and experience possible. We all love you, Alan, and you will always live on in our hearts. As Gandhi once said, "Where there is love, there is life, and as long as I have an ounce of breath left in my body, you will carry on living." God bless.